Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, social media, sports, pop culture, everything really. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On Twitter, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor. You will recognize him as C.O. Hopper in Orange is the New Black that just wrapped up on Netflix. Hunter Emery is with us. Hunter, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No problem. Whether you're an actor, a director, a musician, a writer, you are all storytellers. When did Hunter Emery decide that he wanted to be a storyteller?
Oh my goodness. The first time I had an inkling that I could do it professionally, I was probably in high school. I had a buddy of mine dare me to audition for a play, and we did like a staged version of the film Good Will Hunting.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up playing Will, and I ended up playing Chucky, which was like Ben Affleck's part in that movie. And a week into rehearsals, I ended up telling my baseball coach and my wrestling coach that I wasn't going to be playing that season. And I spent the next 3 years just living in the drama department.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that, not like a misconception, but a lot of people don't realize that before kind of like the big screen, the TV and film, like the theater is kind of where you learn your craft.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's where you fall in love with acting. For me, there was just nothing like the rush I got from being on a stage. It was really transformative, especially in, my coming of age years, to really find something that lit up my life that way was impactful. Absolutely.
And looking now, I mean, season 7 of Orange is the New Black, that was the final season. Like it's done. And it's done. And your character, who we've gone to know C.O. Hopper in the last couple of seasons, but this was like a very big season for C.O. Hopper.
Yeah, they really dove in this year. When I started getting the scripts, I was just like, "Woo, okay." They were giving me a lot to work with. We were really diving into this character more than we had in the previous seasons, and it was just especially cool because it really felt like that the writers and the producers, the whole production was really trusting me to show up, that I could, that I could carry a storyline and that I could really bring something to the show, and which was, a shock, but a huge honor to be able to be given so much material.
And your character kind of deals with the struggles of kind of what's good and what's bad, like what's right and what's wrong throughout the whole season, dealing with kind of the someone on the outside and he's kind of in the inside, kind of smuggling the drugs and all that. But the thing is, it's like you see some moments though in your character where he is this kind of like, rough around the edge of COs. They all are, you know what I mean? But your character, there's some pureness, there's a purity to C.O. Hopper a little bit as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that Ricky, I think that everything that he does comes from a place of wanting to be loved. Mm-hmm. And I think that, that definitely shows up with Aleda. He will, put himself in in situations that he doesn't really need to be in. He puts himself in dangerous situations, and he does that because he just needs to be loved, and he does the from season 6 did the inmate fantasy inmate.
Oh man, yes,
yeah,
I forgot about that.
And I think that really comes from a place too of like wanting affection from these other COs. So I kind of think that he's got like this weakness for other people, that he doesn't feel like he is maybe worthy of love, so he does like questionable things in order to get it. I don't know, it was kind of a complex role in that way where I was trying to figure out like what makes somebody do these things and put themselves in these needlessly dangerous situations. And for me, it just kind of boiled down to that. He just wanted love.
Absolutely. So you are not the first CEO from Orange to come on the show, by the way.
Oh yeah,
We have had CEO Ginger, played by Shauna Hammock.
yeah,
And we have had CEO Dixon, played by Mike Houston.
yeah. Me and Mike, both Colorado boys.
And one of the things that we talked about was how tight, off the set as well. Like when you were done shooting, the CEOs were like, it became kind of like a mini family as well, right?
I think you could say that with the whole cast. It was, with a cast that large, I've definitely never been on a show that had so many characters. But over my 3 seasons on that show, it really became a family. So those are a lot of lifelong relationships and friendships that I'm going to keep. You knew that you were doing something special when you're on that show.
Absolutely.
And that environment really brings people together, and it was an amazing experience to be a part of that. But definitely what ends up happening is because the show is kind of written in little cliques, you end up becoming closer with your cliques. So all the CEOs definitely like had lunch together and stuff like that, or like I don't know, it does kind of get a little like grouped, but it was really fun.
A little bit. I'll try not to say it as much as a spoiler for people that haven't watched it, but one of the funniest things at the end of the last episode of Orange is the New Black, I mean, you'll know what I mean, but like, Hellman, it's kind of, dude, it's like, of course, like, of course that would happen.
Yeah. And oh my God, Greg is like hilarious. And he's one of those people that's like, some people will ask me like, who's the least like their character? And it's Greg. Greg is like the sweetest. Greg plays Theo Hellman is like the sweetest man I've ever met. And he plays such a dick on the show. It's really fun.
And it's funny too, because there's a transformation for a lot of characters. I think you mentioned with the whole fantasy thing, you see Hopper's, like, he is a nice guy. You see kind of glimpses of Hopper where he is a nice guy throughout the time we meet him. I do see that, right? But you look at like Mike Houston, right? And Dixio Dixon, he's kind of rough in the beginning. You see him more as this kind of teddy bear later, but he's straight up rough in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, they do a really good job of like flushing out these characters. And I think that comes with as they get to know the actor, they start writing the character. And I remember when I first started like getting the scripts and being like, oh, this is written for me. Like, and that's a huge change from when like you first show up. Like, my first season really was just, I was coming in, I was just doing like kind of smaller scenes, and it wasn't really specifically felt like Hunter. But when we got into kind of the later half of season 6,
yep,
I immediately would pick up these scripts and be like, oh, like they're writing this for me. And I think you start to see those changes in the characters as the production starts to figure out who you are, both as an actor and as a person.
Absolutely.
And they start really honing in on these scripts, and I think you see like these really lovely character arcs because of that.
I mean, Netflix is a powerhouse. Orange is the New Black is a powerhouse, probably one of the biggest shows on the planet. You were part of one of those biggest shows on the planet. Does that ever sink in?
No. No, it's wild, like so my Instagram is kind of like blown up relatively, like over since the release of the season. I had like 2,000 followers, and it's like up to like 20 now. It's crazy. And just the amount of like global reach that show has, I had no idea. I have people messaging me from France, from India, from China, like it's from Japan, like all over the world. That show has such a global reach and such a global impact.
But it's an important show. It's important.
It's a bellwether for diversity on TV. You're seeing like stories and faces that you've never really seen before, and it proved that could work, that could find not just a niche audience but a huge audience. That show is I think one of the most important shows at least in this past decade, but I would dare to say of all time, like just for
Yeah.
its global reach and how it's kind of changed the landscape of TV. Also, binging. Orange is the New Black is like the first thing that like became like a binge watchable show. It really
Oh, yeah.
started off that movement. And I think it was Netflix's second series. I think House of Cards was first, but this I think has a much more global impact and socially the importance of the show I don't think can be stated enough.
I started watching it so I was kind of a late bloomer. So basically, like I binged like the first 3 seasons, and then starting season 4, I was watching it like when it came out.
That thing kind of dove in.
But I think like more than 3 seasons like would have been like I think 3 seasons was good, and then I was ready to kind of get caught up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when I auditioned for the show, I had only seen like 2 episodes. My wife was a huge fan of the show, but like I had seen a couple episodes and was like, oh, this is cool, and I'll come back to it. And I had kind of forgotten about it. And then I started auditioning for it a few times, and I was like, oh, I should probably start watching this. And it wasn't until like I got the part where I was like, oh, I need to go back and watch everything. So like I auditioned on a Thursday. I got the call on Friday that I got the part, and I was on set on Monday. So that weekend, I just like, just watched the whole season to get caught up, like 1 through 4, and just like in a mad rush to get it all in. So it was
So did you come in season 5?
It's season 5, yeah.
Wow. So 3 seasons of Orange for C.O. Hopper.
For C.O. Hopper, yeah, I think I ended up doing like 28 episodes or something like that.
But I mean, and the thing is, you mentioned it in the beginning, like the cast, like how many people are on the show, an ensemble cast. I think those are the shows as well that I think are becoming more popular because people kind of want to see different people and kind of want to see these different people on the show connect and intertwine with other characters on the show because it kind of creates more opportunity. Do you agree with that statement a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it creates more opportunities to give the audience different flavors. You know what I mean? And I think that in this show in particular, like the fans kind of have their favorites, their favorite characters, and their favorite storylines, and then those things always end up like intertwining. And I think that. Man, it's just such a special show to have been a part of. And I feel so grateful for that opportunity.
Absolutely, man. 2 other things I want to talk to you about before we wrap up. First thing is kind of hallmark on the show, misconceptions of the industry. I actually asked Mike Houston this question, and he gave me some good answers. I mean, everyone thinks they know everything about what you guys do on set and how everything works. You know what I mean? What are some misconceptions of the industry where someone will be like, oh, it must have been like this, and you were kind of like, nope, it's the complete opposite. The one he brought up was like, you see a guy, like, you come on Orange is the New Black for the first time, right? Like Hunter Emery, right? And then people are just like, oh, this must be his first thing he's ever worked in his life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's totally, the first time you see me is like, there's a, 10 years of little things and little opportunities and rejections. There's this whole wealth of like history to get to that part where I'm on that TV that's finally visible. I mean, you can look at my IMDb and you can see all the things I did before, all these little bit things that just build and build. You're trying to kind of bring this whole career together, and it takes time. Some people are lucky enough where it hits right away. That was not my case. It was definitely 10 years of like struggling, rejections, and like, is this right for me? Do I have the stomach to keep on doing this? And I had definitely moments where I was like, I don't know if I can keep going. And then, luckily for me, there's no backup plan. Like, I love this so much. This is what I want to do with my life. And then, I think if I had a concrete like backup plan, I would have pursued that long before I got on Orange is the New Black.
Oh no, absolutely.
But
And
another misconception.
yeah, absolutely.
People think that like you film pretty quickly. Like there are days like in season 7. I don't want to spoil alert if anybody. But there's. Do you remember the scene where Tasty attacked Madison?
Yes.
I remember seeing on the call sheet when we were shooting that day, and I was like, oh, cool. Like it was a 6 a.m. call time, and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe we'll be done by like noon, and I'll have like the whole day off. Like, we shot that scene all day.
Wow.
It's shooting TV, shooting film. Like it's a long process. You know, the term "hurry up and wait" is used a lot. Like it takes a long time. There's so many.
Was the scene that ended up having Madison get transferred? Yeah. Okay, because she gets attacked a few times.
Yeah, that's right. She does get attacked. It's like when Ward comes in and breaks it up. Yeah, but we shot that all day. I mean, I think that took like 8-9 hours to film, which is wild. When you see it, and it's just like, okay, we have one. Just the amount of work that goes into making one scene happen is kind of staggering, and I don't think that people really understand just the process of filmmaking.
That's insane. Well, Hunter, we're gonna wrap up, but thank you so much for coming on Popternative.
Oh man, I'm so happy to be here. It was really great, and I look forward to more episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. Where can people follow you on social media?
Really just on Instagram is the only thing I'm super active on, and it's my Instagram handle is It's Just Hunter Emery, ITJUST Hunter Emery. And yeah, I engage a lot on there, so follow me if you want, and maybe we'll chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Until next time, this is Hunter Emery and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.